Good afternoon. Thank you for being here, everyone here in person. We have a lot of colleagues online, so thank you everyone for being here for the fourth state of BioMed. So I want to begin today by really expressing gratitude to our faculty, staff, trainees for your resilience, dedication, and unwavering commitment to our mission. This has been, by any standard, by any metric, an unusually challenging year. Nationally, new leadership and an associated vision have created unprecedented challenges in higher education, biomedical research, healthcare. Federal initiatives placed Brown in particularly challenging situations, but thankfully, we've emerged having reaffirmed our commitment to academic freedom and institutional autonomy. That said, these initiatives, coupled with ongoing concerns, have not been without consequence. They've affected essentially every aspect of the division, necessitating workforce reductions, hiring pauses, and difficult operational decisions. Navigating these challenges has demanded discipline, transparency, tough choices. We are smaller than we once were, and the repercussions have been felt deeply across the division. And yet, through every disruption, all of you, faculty, staff, students, have shown remarkable resilience, maintained the spirit of collaboration, creativity, and purpose. In this time of change, we've seen innovation thrive, departments reimagining staffing needs across teams, researchers finding new ways to sustain momentum, and educational programs adjusting to serve students with minimal disruption. We've managed spending carefully. Every senior officer approval form may have slowed us down a little bit, maybe just hurt a little bit, but it also kept us upright. Really important to remember that. The true test of a community is not how you manage through calm waters, but it's how you navigate a storm. And this year, the division has proven to be remarkably resilient. When the wind shifted, we didn't drift. We moved with purpose, anchored in our principles, with steadiness that embodies the values that define us to our core. So I want to end these opening remarks with again expressing deep gratitude to our faculty who sustain our teaching and research efforts, to our trainees who drive the optimism and give our mission its heartbeat, and to our staff who keep this complex enterprise moving with quiet excellence. Together, you secure our mission of advancing knowledge and improving the health and well-being of people and planet. So thank you. Now, before turning to our core pillars, which I often do just to review the year, I want to highlight a really important organizational milestone that positions us for our future. So this year, with support of the President and the corporation, we established the division's inaugural Board of Governors, a distinguished body of leaders whose expertise and insight will help guide our strategic growth and long-term impact. The board will play a pivotal role in advancing the division's mission by providing strategic guidance for all our efforts, strengthening our foundation for long-term success, and ensuring that our vision is guided by a broad perspective, principled governance, and a deep commitment to community. We just concluded about an hour ago, our first meeting earlier today. As I look around, I'm really gratified to see a number of our Board of Governors members join us today, and I am really excited to have the benefit of their sage guidance moving forward. So now let's turn to what anchors our work, core pillars: education, research, clinical care, community engagement, each infused with a commitment to diversity, inclusivity, well-being, and social responsibility, guiding us to maximize impact, strengthen our communities, and advance the division's vision for the future. Education remains core to our mission and guides everything we do to prepare the next generation of scientists, physicians, innovators, leaders. Across every level, undergrad, grad, doctoral, medical, we are shaping learners who will lead with skill, integrity, and purpose. At the undergraduate level, interest in biology continues to rise, with students benefiting from the flexibility of Brown's open curriculum, which allows for personalized paths in biomedical discovery. Our graduate programs are also expanding to meet the evolving needs of the biomedical workforce. The Masters in Biotechnology enrolled its largest cohort ever, and we welcomed the inaugural Masters of Science in Health Informatics cohort, reflecting our commitment to innovation and research in advanced training. Even in a challenging national funding environment, we have strategically managed graduate recruitment to protect quality and sustainability. Recognize that while some peers paused or rescinded offers, we took a proactive approach, intentionally reducing the size of the incoming class to safeguard the quality of the student experience and our commitments to faculty. Our programs attract exceptional scholars. Faculty continue to secure support for graduate training. The MCB T32 renewal, a new molecular medicine T32. While the Blavatnik Family Graduate Fellowship in Biology and Medicine has supported 23 fellows over the last 3 years, with its alumni now advancing to postdoctoral and industry roles. In medical education, our curriculum is evolving to meet today's student needs and those of the health systems for the future. Beginning with MD 27, students will complete required clinical work by March of their 3rd year, thereby liberating time for electives and research. Preclinical education has been redesigned to promote flexibility, integration, and deeper student-faculty engagement. With an enhanced health system science curriculum and new instruction in the electronic health record AI for first-year medical students, advancing Brown's efforts in digital health education. A new competency-based assessment framework emphasizes growth and lifelong learning. Students excel in the residency match with strong engagement in primary care and Rhode Island-based practice. A 4-year career advising program supports students across specialties and other pathways. Together, these initiatives position Brown to equip future physicians with the skills, flexibility, and perspective needed to lead and innovate in an evolving healthcare landscape. So across all our programs, we invest in shared coursework, professional development, and mentorship that foster community, collaboration, and excellence, ensuring every adjustment strengthens the quality, relevance, and impact for our education. Discovery and innovation are the engines that move us forward, pushing the boundaries of what's known, translating ideas into impact, sustaining progress, even in challenging times. Persistence and curiosity drive discovery, and our community has shown both in spades this year. Despite the challenges and uncertainties in federal funding, our researchers continued to work hard, increase the number of grant applications, pursue new funding opportunities, and seek alternative sources to maximize impacts for patients, community, and the broader scientific landscape. I'm going to highlight just a few recent awards that are strengthening our research infrastructure and offer opportunities to expand our impact. From the RNA Cobra to enhance the state's RNA research capacity. Bradley Hospital CO6 grant to build cutting-edge pediatric psychiatry research laboratories. New funding from the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute to evaluate innovative models for delivering cognitive behavioral therapy to youth with anxiety disorders in the community setting. And very recently, a COBRA Center of Excellence in Translational Approaches to Pathogens of Human Significance, strengthening Brown's ability to translate discoveries into global health impact. These are just a few of the initiatives that exemplify how our research translates discovery, into meaningful health outcomes and advances equitable access to care. People are still continuing to work really hard. Our faculty are submitting proposals every day, and I want to emphasize 3 major proposals that I hope will enjoy the same level of success as the ones I just mentioned. The first is the Advanced CTR renewal. For the past decade, Advanced CTR has driven statewide collaborations and innovation in advancing translational research across Rhode Island. Since 2016, Advanced CTR has awarded over $10 million in funds, 94 projects, 138 investigators, and the ROI has been remarkable. 10-to-1, securing more than $150 million for that $10 million investment in external funding. We will celebrate this remarkable success on November 6th, and I'm hopeful that our renewal will allow us to continue this impactful work, expanding partnerships, accelerating discovery, and advancing positive health outcomes across the state. The second is an application to establish an NIH Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at Brown. This would position the state as a national hub for cutting-edge Alzheimer's research, accelerating discovery of treatments and interventions for a devastating illness, while strengthening local clinical care and connecting families, patients, healthcare providers to the latest advances in Alzheimer's science and support. And alongside the 2 grants that I just mentioned, the NIH and PCORI Awards, we submitted an ARPA-H Prosper application. This is a first of its kind program to target aging itself as opposed to an age-associated disease. This work is based on foundational discoveries made at this institution and underscores our growing role in high-impact translational science. We've also made notable progress in advancing signature initiatives, including a transformative gift from Sabrina and Jamaria Giuliani, which is strengthening Brown's leadership in advancing RNA science and the Human RNome Project, efforts that will drive discovery and technologies that will accelerate life-changing health solutions. In recognition of their generous support, the center now proudly bears their name as the Giuliani RNA Center. This past August, we celebrated a remarkable milestone, the topping off ceremony of Danoff Laboratories. As many of you know, Danoff Labs will serve as a catalytic hub to fuel Brown's life sciences aspirations. The project is poised to transform research, innovation, and collaboration across the entire biomedical ecosystem. And finally, in just a few months, Ocean State Labs will open as Rhode Island's first dedicated biomedical incubator. Its founding includes 6 companies, several rooted in Brown University, advancing breakthroughs in cancer therapeutics, neuroinflammation and Alzheimer's, tissue regeneration, RNA diagnostics, thereby positioning the lab as a catalyst for innovation, collaboration, and impact in our community. Now, looking ahead, I think it's quite obvious, given the experiences of this year, that we need to diversify our research portfolio, thereby reducing our dependency on the federal government. This will require expansion of partnerships with foundations, industry, and community stakeholders to strengthen our reach locally, nationally, globally. We will leverage funding opportunities, accelerate discovery, and amplify impact, and in doing so, through these efforts, remain resilient, thriving, and positioned to lead. Clinical care is where knowledge and discovery come to life, transforming education and research into meaningful impact for patients and communities. We have much to celebrate this year, and it begins with the Care New England's opening of the Brown University Labor and Delivery Center at Women and Infants Hospital, March 2025. The first baby, baby April, arrived on March 24th. A joyful start for the center designed to provide outstanding care, train the next generation of clinicians, and maintain WI as one of the nation's leading hospitals for women and newborns. Over 8,500 births annually. Our OBGYN faculty demonstrate remarkable excellence, with the department ranked amongst the top in the nation. Notably, with Dr. Maureen Phipps' election to the National Academy of Medicine, one of the highest honors in health and medicine in this nation, the department now includes 4 National Academy members, both active and emeriti. The department is also home to Dr. Ellie Adachi, Dean Emeritus, and this year's recipient of the 2025 National Academy of Medicine Walsh McDermott Medal for Distinguished Service, a recognition that honors someone for long-standing exceptional contributions to the Academy. Together, these achievements are a powerful testament to the department's impact, leadership, and national prominence. We also celebrated 50 years of the Family Medicine Residency Program at Brown. Established in 1975, the Family Medicine Program was first of its kind in the Ivy Leagues. Its faculty, trainees, and staff had published thousands of academic papers, trained over 600 residents, and prepared half of the state's family medicine physicians to provide essential patient-centered care. This milestone underscores the department's impact on community health and its central role in advancing accessible, high-quality care across Rhode Island. Amid national challenges, including federal shutdowns, our collaboration with the VA has remained strong. And this partnership really highlights the essential nature of our clinical work and the dedication of our faculty who serve veterans with skill, compassion, and continuity. We are also proud to celebrate our partners at Hope Health Hospice and Palliative Care, who recently earned the Joint Commission's Gold Seal of Approval, a national recognition of their extraordinary commitment to quality, safety, and compassionate care. As our major teaching affiliate for hospice and palliative medicine, Hope Health embodies the values that we strive to uphold across the division. A major milestone in the clinical realm was the merger of Brown Physicians, Inc. with Brown Health Medical Group under the Brown University Health umbrella. This long-sought critical achievement will strengthen care delivery, enable unification of patient records, enhance data sharing, and improve coordination across the system, leading to more integrated and efficient patient care. As part of the merger, Brown University Health committed to hiring additional primary care physicians to meet the community's needs. And importantly, A key goal for this newly formed physician group is to strengthen education and research, providing trainees with the knowledge, experience, and mentorship needed to become innovative patient-centered physicians. The year ahead will be critical as we fully operationalize the vision for Brown Health Medical Group, and I have the honor and privilege of helping by serving as chair of the board. Finally, we're in the midst of two major recruitments for clinical department leaders, namely in orthopedics and medicine. The response has been robust, and we look forward to ensuring strong visionary leadership in both departments for the next decade. Taken together, these initiatives will strengthen the foundations of our clinical enterprise, ensuring that education, research, patient care converge to drive measurable improvements in health and advance our mission. Community engagement is where our mission meets the world, where education, discovery, clinical care converge to create meaningful, lasting impact in the communities we serve. In BioMed, this engagement extends beyond classrooms and clinics to include service learning, local partnerships, and initiatives that address pressing health and social needs, giving our work real-world significance and ensuring that learners, faculty, clinicians actively shape the health of Rhode Island and beyond. Programs such as the Community Health Advocacy Program empower our PLME students to collaborate with local organizations, identifying needs and developing solutions while deepening understanding of the social, economic, and cultural factors that shape health. This past year, first and second year medical students completed over 3,000 hours of service learning, through 81 community partnerships, including Clinica Esperanza, local health fairs, and STEM education programs. And more than 150 community guests, patients, clinicians, advocates brought lived experiences directly into classrooms through the doctoring program, reminding our students that medicine is both a science and a human practice, grounded in empathy, equity, and connection. Engagement is particularly critical in primary care, where our physicians serve on the front line of community health. We're committed to training physicians who are both highly skilled and deeply rooted in the communities they serve. We are developing innovative pathways, including an accelerated primary care track designed to immerse students in local care, reduce barriers such as educational debt, and strengthen Rhode Island's primary care pipeline. By aligning education, clinical training, partnerships, BioMed is not only producing physicians, but we're building an equitable, resilient, and forward-looking system of care. And looking ahead, we're going to continue to deepen and expand these collaborations using community engagement as a platform for innovation in care delivery, population health, and education. The values that ground our work, diversity, inclusion, well-being, social responsibility, are embedded in every aspect of the division. They shape our mission, inform our decisions, strengthen the connections among people, programs, and partnerships. When these values stay strong, our community thrives and the collective impact grows. Now, as you all know, national events have led to heightened scrutiny, including challenges and lawsuits that have tested Brown's values, and by extension, each of our own. Yet it is in moments like these that our principles matter the most. In BioMed, we remain steadfast in our belief that diversity strengthens discovery, inclusion drives innovation, belonging fuels excellence. In addition to national issues, we've experienced significant leadership change in the areas of well-being and diversity and inclusion. Transitions are hard, but we also celebrate that our colleagues who led these programs have now gone on to take major roles at Brown and elsewhere to pursue their passions and advance their careers. Our search for a new leader for the Office of Well-Being is now nearing completion. This search focused on finding a leader committed to nurturing the health, resilience, and holistic wellness of our student populations, and ensuring that every learner has the support, resources, and guidance that they need to thrive. We are preparing to launch the search for a new leader for the Office of Belonging, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. This position will align closely with the values and the priorities set forth by our colleagues in the University Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and in doing so, ensuring a unified and coordinated approach to advancing equity and inclusion across the institution. We know this period of transition is hard. We don't take it lightly, but we remain committed to progress by listening, learning, ensuring that our values are reflected in both leadership and our everyday actions. As we reflect on the past year, we have demonstrated our ability to adapt, collaborate, remain grounded in mission and values. The coming year will again demand this, will demand creativity, partnership, courage, as we navigate new challenges. Our commitments for the year, at least at this moment, are clear. We don't know what the future holds, but we know that we will need to steward our financial resources wisely to ensure that we have continued strength and impact of our programs. We will need to deepen and continue to deepen integration across education, research, clinical care, creating more seamless impact and impactful connections across our mission. We will strengthen our community partnerships, building initiatives that expand health, learning, opportunity through Rhode Island and beyond. And we will leverage the expertise, insight, and guidance of our Board of Governors to support strategic growth and long-term success of the division. Navigating headwinds takes more than strength. It takes shared purpose, unwavering principle, and unity. Together we hold fast, steering BioMed forward, grounded in mission and inspired by impact. So thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank everyone for all that you do to advance our mission. And with that, I'm going to conclude the formal parts of my remarks, and I'm going to start by addressing some pre-submitted questions and then open it up to questions from the audience. I wonder if we could have the lights up a little bit. Unless it affects folks online. But let me just, we had a number of questions that were submitted, and so I'll start with a couple, and that'll give the audience time to think. Yeah, especially Dr. Zimmerman, I see you. I know she's gonna ask a question. All right. So question one, and this is in no order. Will Brown provide specific support for academics of hospital-based faculty in the newly formed, they called it Brown Medical Practice Group, but I think the author probably meant Brown Health Medical Group. So as part of the agreement between Brown and Brown University Health to form Brown Health Medical Group, there is provision for an academic innovation fund to support the activities of faculty at Brown Health Medical Group. A research and education committee will be formed. Dr. Ramratnam will help facilitate that. And this committee will advise ultimately me on the use of those funds. So the answer is yes, work in progress, but once we have the committee formed, I think we'll be ready to move forward. All right. So I'm going to say this question. I'm going to try to answer the best I can, but it's slightly confusing. But it said, what are the funding allocations looking like? If the Trump administration has freed up research funding, what impact does that have on facility funds, for example, composting, interest groups, and otherwise? So I think I have the gist of it. I spoke a bit about this in my remarks. What I would say is that funding allocations from the Trump administration, I'm sure the writer or the author is interested in NIH and funding decisions along that line. Those issues are still being, well, I'm not sure if they're being discussed right now because the government is shut down, but once the government opens up, I'm sure there'll be continued vigorous discussion. As many of you know, the original proposal from the administration was a pretty draconian reduction in NIH, the budget, as well as indirect rates. Happily, both sides of the aisle have pushed back in Congress, trying to get the NIH budget closer to what it has been historically. That's good news. The indirect rate, a little bit less, it's a little more opaque or less clear, I think, to most of us at this moment. But I think this is something that I can't really answer, but I think we'll see hopefully some resolution again once the government is back up, and hopefully soon. And we'll just deal with the consequences there. I also wondered, there's a comment in this question about interest groups. So we have a number of student interest groups, and so perhaps this is a question from a student, but what I would say is if there's concerns about support or funding for interest groups, I know the perfect person, and she knows who she is. So Dean Vries is right there, and I would just say, please talk to Dean Vries, and she will help you figure out how to move forward. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going. Any hands for questions? I'm happy to come back to the online questions. I want to make sure you've been kind to come in person, so we got to make sure that we address questions from audience members that are here. Well, if you do, Marnes, you can see Marnes ready to go, and I'll keep going with the questions that came online. So this is it's a very long question, but maybe I'll just distill it down to say the question deals with basically PhD students. We had a reduction in PhD students, and the concern is that by doing this, it's going to decrease our research productivity, our long-term success, our reputation. And as a leader of biomedical research at Brown, how do you suggest we avoid these outcomes, given the reduction in PhD students? And so I just, maybe a few comments. One is, we should be very clear that we reduced PhD students in response. We didn't do it on our own. I think we know that, but just underscore that point. In fact, we had been increasing PhD students over the last few years, so this is certainly not anything any of us in the leadership BioMed wanted to do. Now, I also mentioned in my remarks, but I'll just reiterate if you missed it, I think we managed this pretty well. We were pretty proactive about it, as opposed to some institutions that recruited students and then had to rescind offers. So we didn't halt, and we certainly didn't rescind, but we did reduce. And what I will also say is, even though we took less students, it actually was pretty hard to place those students this year. And that's understandable because faculty were concerned about funding and their ability to support the students. We have about 280 plus or minus PhD students currently. We need to, I think, be a little conservative till we have a sense of what NIH funding will look like. We have to continue to do our best with T32s, F31s, and F32s. I noted a couple of T32s that happily we were able to secure this year. I would really strongly encourage all our faculty and trainees to think about individual grants as well, F31, F32. We're also working very hard to garner additional support. We've had this wonderful relationship with the Blavatnik Foundation for the last, now I think we're in year 3 of 5 years, and we're starting to think about renewing that or how we can continue that relationship. So we're doing our part in seeking alternative sources to support our graduate students. I think all of our faculty and students can do their best through training grants, F mechanisms. And then finally, I did mention we also need to diversify our portfolio. So philanthropy or the Blavatnik Foundation is one, but corporate partnerships and others are additional ways that we're contemplating ways to support our graduate students. So I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. This is a hard thing. We got to wait for the NIH budget. It's very hard to cover the magnitude of the support from the federal government, but I do want you to know that we're working very hard on alternative pathways. All right. We have a question. Got it. Oh, wonderful.
Hi, I'm Chris DeGraffenried. I'm a faculty member in the molecular microbiology and immunology department up at main campus. So I'm curious about, there's been lots of discussions about the time to degree for graduate students. So there's been a big push for 5 years. So I'm curious what's motivating that. And from my perspective, kind of ending the PhDs sooner sort of limits some of the most productive time that we get from our students. And so I have some concerns about kind of what's motivating these conversations.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, in part, it's, first of all, you should know that this is a national conversation that many grad schools across the country are having. The other is, society looks at us very differently today, and we do need to make sure that we are training students not over an excessively long period so that they can continue with their careers. Really important. And then there are financial implications of longer PhD programs. So I appreciate it's always, there's always a tension between the duration of support, the experience that the student will have. You want them to be as well trained as possible, and balancing that with students' needs and society's aspirations to want to try to get people to move forward with their careers, and also the financial implications. But what I'm also going to do, I'm going to call, I'm allowed to throw lifelines. Is that what it was? What was that show? Yeah, lifelines. And we have individuals with deeper expertise than me, and I'm going to see if Kate Smith would like to offer additional comments.
Knew that game show that started Phone a Friend was a terrible idea. Chris, so thanks for your comment, your question. It's a very candid one and it's important. I want to dispel a myth that our target is 5 years. That's 5 years is a number that we've been thinking about as a group. But as you know, we have 7 PhD programs that are all very unique from one another. Some of them already have an average time to degree that's close to 5. Some of them are closer to 6.5 years. And so what we've asked programs to do now is take a look with their faculty trainers to think about their curriculum, the length of their lab rotations, particular labs that may take an especially long time relative to their peers, ways in which we can be much more candid in a radical but yet kind way with students about their academic experience. Those are all ways that we can perhaps keep student progress moving so that we can continue to feed the scientific pipeline, right? We were talking about this with Board of Governors today. We need students out into the scientific workforce. If you think about the impact of all of these graduate schools nationwide, pausing programs, rescinding offers, in some cases canceling them, that's an impact nationally. And so our job is to train students and educate them the best that we can without compromising that and ensure that we're getting them out into that workforce.
All right, thanks, Kate. Dr. Eldieri has his hand, and I saw, Dr. Jameson in the back. Maybe we'll start with Dr. Eldieri. Actually, I changed my mind. Let's go to Dr. Jameson. No, I'm kidding. You, sir.
Oh, okay. So this is a question about the endowment, which seems to be doing well.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how it grows every year, but whether it's just how the market works or new funds. But how does this affect BioMed? And can you just put some perspective on everything's bad, but the university's doing well?
Yeah. And I'll also see if Kim wants to weigh in on this. Okay, she just raised her eye. Maybe she doesn't want to weigh in on this. But I think the investment returns are, as you know, Wuffy, driven in part by the market and also the fact that we have an amazing investment office that has well over a decade now been on the sort of the leading edge of success in investments. And so, I think it's great that the endowment is doing well. The endowment supports an enormous amount of effort within the university. And we are beneficiaries of that. A lot of that endowment, as you know, is committed to certain areas. So it's not a slush fund that can just be moved around. So I think it's a good thing, and it helps strengthen our ability to weather additional storms. But beyond that, I don't know, Kim, if you would like to add.
Well, I would say in terms of specifics, the endowment yield is set annually by the government, and generally that's between 4.5% and 5.5%. Now the payout rate is also a complicated formula that takes into account a 12-quarter rolling average. So it's meant to protect against kind of wild ups and downs in the market. And the endowment is meant to support the university in perpetuity. So while the corpus is growing and is approximately $8 billion at this point, we need to steward that in a way so that those funds are always here. So we are not taking out more than is growing in any given time. And the endowment does support many people and projects in the Division of Biology and Medicine. It's a significant source of our revenue each year. Faculty with endowed funds or endowed chairs, for example, those funds are going to support salary and startup other expenses. So the endowment is a significant source of our revenue.
Does it impact growth?
He was just asking if it affects plans of growth.
Yes, I mean, I would say that new gifts and new funds, whether they're current use gifts or endowed funds, certainly impact how we think about faculty hiring, for example, new programs, center support. So we've, I think, been very fortunate to have generous donors who have supported the division and supported Dean Jain and prior deans' vision for what this could be. And many faculty are in this room today and have been hired because of those generous gifts.
I saw Amanda right in the back.
Amanda Jameson, the MMI department. I'd really like to thank you for acknowledging the hard work that so many faculty and staff are doing over the past several months, but I'm concerned it's not sustainable. And when we have these cuts to either through not filling positions or to actually having the unfortunate thing of laying people off, it's really impacting, so it makes certain staff members have to work extremely hard in a way that I don't think is long-term sustainable, and also certain faculty, especially service-facing faculty. And then the impact for people, even though they're working hard, to not be able to get everything done. I reach out to offices and I keep hearing, oh, we're understaffed, but that means that I don't get my grant up and running, so I can't spend it. After when I have less time to try to spend the grant, their software isn't being approved, so people can't do research. And so my concern is that I know this, that people are doing their best, but it really is impacting the ability to spend money, to get money, to do research, to educate students. It's really impacting all the pillars of everything.
Well, maybe just a couple of comments, and certainly if any of my colleagues to my left here want to comment, please do as well. You're right, and as I mentioned, we're a little bit smaller than we were before. I will say with respect to staff layoffs, and this was a question online, so I'm just going to try to answer it in the context of your question because it's related. We made some hard decisions. My sincere hope is that we won't have to do more. And that's why we're continuing to be fiscally disciplined, Amanda. We loosened the SOA process, but I would just ask everyone to keep Amanda's comment, and it was a very similar comment that was submitted online. We don't want to have to go back and do more of this. We're running lean, and we don't need to be adding work. So I would just ask everyone, as we loosen the SOA process, to be as careful as possible. I think the reason to be cautious for a bit longer is because we just don't know what the national landscape is going to look like. And you know that space very well, the things that we've already talked about that we're working on. My hope is that if we can enter a period of stability and we have a sense of what the federal landscape will look like, we can be a little bit more flexible. But we're trying to, again, not be as tough as we were during the SOA process, but still maintaining our foot on the brake, if you will, just to, sort of a conservative approach to make sure that we can manage should there be additional challenges. I don't know if perhaps, Kim, if there's anything more you'd like to add, or if that...
Yeah, I think everybody is feeling it, right? The layoffs are really hard, and we had to do the work of the layoffs before we do the work of the reorganization and trying to think about how we then redistribute that work. And the folks that are not here anymore were not poor performers. They weren't, it's not like we just sort of were able to sort of figure out who were the bottom 10% and say, oh, well, we'll all be better off. That is not the case. Folks that are not here anymore were strong, hard, talented workers who are really dedicated to our mission. And so we will absolutely feel their loss, and it will take us some time to figure out how to operate without those folks. And I think it's also true that our admin teams, our staff, our faculty work really hard. If you look at those, the research trajectory that Mukesh showed, if you looked at the undergrad teaching numbers, the master's numbers, the trajectory in every case is upward bound, and yet now that the staffing numbers are downward, and so that's going to take time for sure, and it's really it's a hard, I think, experience for everybody to have to go through.
I can cover maybe, and then I'll come back to the audience. There was a question. I think I addressed this, but I do think it's important, and I just want to make sure that even if I underscore what I've already said, but there was a question about medical student support and concerns about the DEI backlash in the current state, and students concerned about having sufficient support. So, as I said, but I'm going to reiterate, the national landscape is hard. I think we understand that. Superimposed on that, which has made it a little bit harder, is that we've had transitions in our leadership. But remember, we do have an OBD office. We continue to support students. We have 2 interim directors in Dean Hampton and Dean Sear, who is here. We're starting our search for a new leader, and we're working very closely with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at the university, and Matt Gutterell in particular, to help us through this transition. So while I think I know it's been very hard at many levels, and students definitely feel it, as do faculty and staff, I do want you to know that we are working really hard during this transition to provide support. Again, hats off to Shelley and Star Hampton, and we will hopefully have a permanent leader in place soon. And then there's one more question online, so I might as well cover it in the few minutes left. How are you balancing the many competing demands for growth, philanthropy at Brown and the medical school? As best as I can. I think, the truth of the matter is, every faculty member or every unit believes their work is vitally important, and it's the most important. And that's awesome. That's how people should be. You should be advocating for the work that you do, and you should be, because you're passionate about it, you're going to advocate for it. And that is great. And the truth of the matter is, we do have a lot of excellence. And I would love to be able to support every initiative that people bring forward. We have enjoyed success. I think the university and President Paxson and the corporation have been incredibly supportive of our vision, and consequently, to achieve that vision, we've been put in positions to be able to raise resource. Around the time I was starting, there was a transformative gift to the Cancer Center. More recently, the RNA Center, I mentioned that. Incredible support for Danoff Laboratory. So we are making great progress, and I know it's not enough. And frankly, it'll never be enough. No matter how long I am in this role, it will never be enough. But we are working very hard in that space, and there's a lot of support at the level of the university. So that's a couple of points. What I'll also say is, during this period, we may grow a little bit slower as we wait for the world to sort of settle out. That isn't unique to Brown, by the way. But let's, during this process, as we're working really hard with colleagues across BioMed and the university to raise resource, let's work really hard on the tripartite mission. Let's focus on our students, our faculty, our community, our clinical efforts, and also use this opportunity to think creatively with the opportunities that are here and the excellence of the program, and looking at the intersection of those programs for new ideas that when the government is open again and federal budgets are clarified, that we are even more competitive in that space. Also, it's at the leading edge of these disciplines that if we're really creative now in developing traction, it'll open us up to other alternative source of funding beyond the federal government, and that's philanthropy, foundations, corporate partnerships, et cetera. So I suspect I have not made the author of the question feel a lot better, but I do appreciate the question, and all I can tell you is this is like, I probably spend 40% of my time on these efforts across many, many programs. All right, we are almost at time, and I don't see any additional hands. So what I would say is, I think that we conclude the fourth State of BioMed. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you everyone online for joining us today. We have a lovely reception outside, and I hope you'll be able to join us for some food and libation. So thank you everyone for being here.